An international news broadcaster, Al Jazeera, has denied any links to Hamas after Israel said that was why the channel was being shut down in the country. A government spokesman claims, without producing evidence, that Al Jazeera had harmed Israel's security and had staff members who took part in the October 7 attacks. The Qatari channel has rejected those allegations as a dangerous and ridiculous lie.
The IDF have revealed that Al Jazeera journalists and Hamas terrorists have often been one and the same people. And number 5, rather ominously, like the Oscars, but for terrorists, Hamas awarded Al Jazeera winners for their coverage. So we say very clearly, freedom of the press, yes. Freedom for jihadis, no.
Well, for more on these stories, David Otto, who is an international security analyst, joins us now from London. Hello, David. Warm welcome to Arise News. Let's start with that very heinous annihilation of the 7 World Central Kitchen staff that were bombed by Israel despite the apologies from the Prime Minister Netanyahu. Is the war beginning to take a new dimension? Is starvation, one of the strategies that Israel is using to punish the Palestinians in Gaza?
Yes, of course. We are now into, I think, day 179, almost 180 days since the tragic event of October 7th. And of course, the decision by the Israeli Defense Forces and the government of Israel to invade Hamas. Some reports have put it that about 170 UN staff have been killed so far, and close to about 340 health workers have been killed as a result of Israeli strikes and the invasion. You can quite remember that when this airstrike happened, the Israeli Defense Forces had initially said that they were not aware of it. And then, of course, they came out to say that they were investigating the strike. Now they have confirmed that it was an unintentional target by an Israeli strike by the Israeli Defense Forces. Now the question is, when you look at some of the reports, that of course these reports are not, from the, of course, the Israeli forces have not actually, or the Israeli government has not approved these reports. But it shows that, these strikes were kind of intentional because, some sources have reported. Again, this is, one cannot corroborate this. They reported that the 3 vehicles that were hit, were hit almost, simultaneously, in the sense that the first vehicle was hit, and when the occupants of the first vehicle, tried to escape and remove themselves from that vehicle onto the second vehicle, that was also hit subsequently. And when that happened, they moved to the third vehicle within the same square kilometers, and they were also hit. So it does demonstrate a level of intentional target. Whether the unintentional was the fact that it was not intended to hit workers of the Well Kitchens, center, Well Central Kitchen, is something that, needs to be further investigated. But remember, this is a U.S. NGO. And of course, some of the workers, belong to, as you rightly put it in your intro, they came from the UK, from Poland, and also from countries like Australia. So it will be a pretty on goal, especially for countries like the United States and the UK, that pretty much support Israel in all shapes and form. But again, it demonstrates the level at which this crisis has deteriorated. Now, the question is, has Israel, or will Israel achieve its tripartite aim? one, to destroy and annihilate Hamas, two, to free the hostages, and three, to ensure that Gaza does not pose a threat. After 180 days, have they achieved that, or are they close to achieving that? I think that's the big question which must be asked.
It's a big question indeed, and it's like the Israelis are expanding this war gradually with the attack yesterday of the Iranian consulate in Syria and the killing of 2 Revolutionary Guards generals and 5 other officers. And Iran has vowed a revenge on Israel. Of course, you know that will be anywhere in the world. What are your thoughts here and the warning of Guterres, the United Nations Secretary General?
I think the warning is quite realistic in the sense that this conflict is further being escalated. The Iranian leadership has promised that it will avenge the Israeli strike on its embassy in Damascus, that's in Syria, saying that, of course, this is against the Geneva Convention, which provides protection for consulates, against targeted strike. So I think it's important to note that the Israelis, have made it also very clear that they will target the enemy wherever they find them and however they find them. So this is now a demonstration that we're not just talking about a direct target on the Gaza Strip. Of course, you mentioned that Israel is going as far as making arrests. Close to about 9,000 Palestinians have been arrested, across between Gaza and also the West Bank. But these, attacks continue to occur outside of this location. So it is an expansion of the conflict. We already know that this is turning more into some kind of a proxy war, between Israel and, of course, Iran, and, of course, the United States, which is a very strong backer of the Israeli invasion. So it's quite telling that, the conflict is going deeper and deeper. And it's not just the attack on the Iranian embassy. There is also another attack which occurred on the on the Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza, which of course is one of the largest hospitals. The UN has reported that without the function of that hospital, literally you can say that there is no longer any health services in the Gaza Strip. But of course, the Israelis have argued from their side that these hospitals are constantly being used by Hamas to treat themselves, and to use it as military bases. Of course, Hamas and Palestinians have denied these allegations as well. So the war is not just expanding, but it's getting more deeper as more people are killed, buildings destroyed, and Gaza becoming more or less ungovernable and unlivable as well.
Ungovernable and unlivable. With the barrage of air and ground strikes on such a tiny strip, what more can one really expect? Thanks so very much, David Otto, international security analyst, speaking to us from the UK.